Hey, welcome back to the Secret Underground Lair. Today's the day we start on our sideboard project. Now, in terms of calculating or confirming dimensions, we want this to be 15 inches wide, but so much of that depends really on the drawer slides. So these are some soft close drawer slides that we have to put in for these three drawers. And if it's a 15-inch total width cabinet here, in fact, if we were to say the width of the top was 15 inches, this is going to be inset by an inch, that makes it 14 inches. These drawer slides are 14 inches, but there's going to be a half-inch face on the front of this and a half-inch on the back, so that makes it 13. Not going to work. So the cabinet is going to be probably 15 inches wide, the top may be 16. So we have a little bit of leeway there, but it all depends fundamentally on the drawer slides. So we're going to take these apart, measure them, and we'll base all our measurements fundamentally off the drawer slide. That's today's adventure. So here's our drawer slide. I'm just going to flip that over so it's a little easier to see. Now imagine that we have a box in here that is actually the drawer. This will be the face of the drawer that is going to be flush with the front of the cabinet. And this represents the back of the cabinet. The distance between the front of the face and the back of the cabinet is 14 7/8 of an inch when everything is pressed in tight. So allowing for a little bit of clearance of 1/8 of an inch, we are 15 inches from front of face to back of cabinet. That leaves 1/8 of an inch clearance on the drawer slide itself. Understanding that, we can start to plan out our end pieces, our center piece. That'll be this piece, and this piece down here behind the door. So we can start working on cutting out those. Initially, I will cut out the two end pieces and then we'll do that. This is going to be made out of 3/4 inch MDF. I have a large sheet of MDF in the garage. I'm going to make the initial cuts outside of the shop. Two reasons. One, it's very dusty, and two, it's just a little too large to handle on my table saw. So I'll cut these pieces to rough sizes, to the rough size, bring them into the shop, and we'll finish them up on the table saw. Going to do the same thing with the floor and the drawer shelf. Cut them outside, then bring them into the shop for final cut. So one of the challenges, of course, is figuring out how you're going to cut your dimensional material. So I have laid out here, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this a little better. 4x8 sheet, roughly 4x8 sheet. It's a little larger than that. I'm going to make a cut down one end of it at 30 inches. That'll give us the two sides and the partition in the middle. Again, rough cuts. And another cut about 15.5, another cut about 15.5, and that'll give us the top and bottom of the cabinet. So we'll go out and make those cuts now using my little circular saw. Hey, and guess what? Bed rail. It's a nice straight edge. Hey, got our MDF laid out on my little work table and a support table. There's one thing to be said about MDF, it is heavy. So this little panel carrying jig comes in really handy when you have to move one of these around by yourself. So I'm going to measure out our piece 30 inches up in this dimension. You could cut across here, then another 15.5 and another 15.5. I'll get that laid out and come back when I'm ready to make a cut. Okay, things are gonna cut the way I hope. Make the cut along here. This piece rests on top of my work table and that rests on a little support table. What could possibly go wrong? A little minor tear at the very end. It's just a little too far to reach. But our cut's made, I'm happy with that. Okay, geared up for a second cut. This time it should be within reach. And this piece will drop right onto the table that I've got it set on. There we are, a real nice straight cut. This is, you need to buy an expensive track saw. Okay, 2 words to describe MDF. Heavy, dusty. Right, I'm just going to set this off to the side. We're going to come back and use this to make the dividers between the drawers. And a couple more pieces will probably come out of this too. So for now, we can go into the shop and focus on making the ends of the cabinet, the center partition, the floor, and the top. Okay, I've got the piece set here on the table saw, and I want to cut 15-inch panel, a 15-inch panel, and then we're going to cut a 14 3/4 off the end. But this is a fairly large piece yet, so I'm going to go 15 1/4. I'm going to give an extra 1/4 of an inch, and then we'll do a fine cut when we have a piece that's a little bit easier to manage on the saw. So 3 cuts through at 15 1/4, and then we'll cut them down again to 15, 15, and 14 3/4. Double check this measurement as I'm setting it up on the saw. Something just doesn't seem quite right at 14 3/4. Nope, 14 3/4 is correct. The difference being the back of the cabinet is a 1/2 inch thick, not 3/4. By the way, also I'm making these cuts a 32nd of an inch wider, about a 32nd of an inch, just so I have a little sanding room. Just marking the pieces with my pencil left, right, and partition, just so there's no mistake about what these pieces are. And the dust collector is working really well. I got a little bit of dust on my apron, as you can see, but the rest of the shop is incredibly clear. Compared to what it was without the dust collector, that is. I love that tool. Okay, I'm taking a slightly different tack on this cut. I'm going to use the circular saw. What I've done is lined up these 2 edges. These edges here are perfect. These edges here are perfect. So I'm clamping 2 pieces together to make this one cut. Then I have 3 sides that are exactly the same length and same dimension. The reason I'm taking this approach is that the piece, obviously at 29 1/4, is too wide for my fence. I can't put that through the table saw. And which means if I did want to use the fence, I'd have to set it up to take off this portion, which opens me up to the pieces being off by, you know, like a 32nd of an inch, just enough to be aggravating down the road. So by clamping the pieces together and making one single pass, I'll have them exactly the way that I want them. Well, at least they'll be exactly the same. Let's start with that. We've got the anaconda here set up, hopefully collecting some of the dust that comes off the circular saw. This is likely going to be a little messier. That worked out really well. Pleased with that. So now I've got 3 sides that are exactly the same. So this will represent our top and our left and right sides. What is required now on these is a 3/4 inch dado to accommodate the bottom, a 3/4 inch dado to accommodate the top, that's the drawer shelf, and then a 1/2 inch dado down the back, or a 1/2 inch rabbet cut down the back to accommodate the back of the cabinet. So I'm going to get the dado blade set up, make a few test cuts. It's probably time for lunch. I've done a test dado. This fits perfectly on a 3/4 inch piece. So I'm going to cut the dados in the left side and the right side. The dado is going to be 4 inches from the bottom to the bottom of the dado on both the base of the cabinet to accommodate the floor, and 4 inches from the top to accommodate the top or the drawer shelf. So I can put the piece through this way, flip it around, put it through again using the same setup. So I'll be doing both left and right with this configuration. Dado cut in MDF is the ultimate for dust generation, but the Anaconda, the dust collector, is just doing a phenomenal job of sucking it in, so very grateful to have that. Okay, there's our dados cut for the bottom and top in both the left and the right sides. But for now, it's time for a bite of lunch. Come back and deal with that. Alrighty, I'm back from lunch, and I took the liberty of cutting the top and bottom to length. So I'm now ready to cut the dado into the top and bottom. And the bottom one is fairly straightforward. There's going to be a dado right here to support the partition, and nothing from there over. The top, however, is a little different. So there's a dado on the underside to support the partition, and there's a dado to support this little drawer divider, and another dado to support that drawer divider. So we've got a dado on the top, dado on the top, dado on the bottom, just a dado on the top. So I'm going to start with cutting the bottom piece. The dado is going to be 12 and 7/16 from the side edge to the end. Actually, I'm going to double check that, because 12 and 7/16 is going to the outside edge here. Alrighty, double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking. Check, 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 check. The measurement from the edge of this piece to this edge of the dado is going to be 12 and 1/16 of an inch. Okay, 3 passes. This way, flip it over, that way again, flip it end for end, that way again. Okay, I believe that is all the dados that we're going to cut. Oh, got to do a rabbit edge on the back of everything. Almost forgot that one. But first I'm going to, let's just kind of do a dry fit. And I did widen out the dado just a little wee bit to, because I found it was just a little bit too tight of a fit. One here. Two Drawer partitions are just going to sit in here, so we can cut them to the right length now. Probably get them both out of one piece there. And then our partition, stand up in here. Just have it laying on its side, but that'll go in here. Okay, good first start. So I have cut the back of the piece. This is the back piece for the cabinet. Just using my circular saw and bed rail. But now I'm going to cut some dados. So I need to cut a dado the full length of the back that's going to support the drawer shelf. I need to cut a dado down here that's going to support the cupboard partition and the drawer partition. And I need to cut a dado here, just a little short one, to support the drawer partition on this side. Now this one is going to extend just a little bit, probably 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/2 an inch down into the body of the cabinet, but I think we're going to be okay with that. I've set the fence to be 4 inches, so I'm going to flip the piece over and cut through to get this dado in place. And then we'll go 12 1/16 to get that one in place. Flip the piece over 12 1/16. We want to cut that, but only a certain distance. You're going to have to figure out how to know where to stop. So on the fence, I have a mark here. This piece of tape and a line indicates where the top of the blade is. That's the center of the arbor of the motor shaft, and where the center of the blade would be, representing therefore the highest point of the blade. Now what I want to do is I want this cut to go 4 inches at full height, meaning I drew a line here at 4 inches. So if I push the piece right through to here, I know that I have got full height to 4 inches, and then I'll stop. And that'll take me down to probably just going inside the 3/4 inch dado that we've cut here, but I know that I'll stop in the right spot. So I'll set you back up and we'll make this cut. And there's the cut. You can see we just kissed the inside edge of the thing here. I'm going to actually see if I can put a little plug in there and patch that up, just for fun. If I can eliminate that blemish, I think that would be nice to do. So I'm going to do that. So I've got a little piece of 3/4 inch stock of MDF. I just stuck it in there, kind of cut it off here, glue this in place. Maybe I'll try and contour it a little bit first, just with some sandpaper. And then, yeah, we'll cut it off flush. So cut that off in the bandsaw. So I just cut that off, gave it a little bit of a roundy kind of profile. So that can sit in there. We'll just use the oscillating saw and cut that off, flush it off, get a little sand. Some glue on that first. Give it a little friendly persuasion. In the meantime, I think we're all finished with the dado cuts that need to be made. So I'm going to put the regular blade back on the saw, and we'll trim the top and bottom to the correct width, trim up the partitions for the drawers to the correct width, and set this partition to the correct width. So this is our drawer shelf being trimmed to 14 3/4. so we got our drawer partitions, our left side, our right side. The only thing we haven't done is the middle partition. So I believe we're now ready for another dry fit. I forgot. I want to do the rabbet cuts here first, so I'm going to do those. I'll bring right. Okay, so to make this rabbet cut, I've set the blade to be 1/4 inch high and the this side of the blade to be 1/2 inch from the fence. So it's 1/2 inch deep to accommodate the thickness of the back of the piece. So I'm going to make one pass through just like so. And then I'm going to put a shim in here and pass it through again, maybe another shim and pass it through again, just to kind of take out all the waste material. Now I know for this cut I could have used a rabbeting router bit or just a router bit, but if you don't have that or it's inconvenient to set it up, this is just a quick way to do it on the table saw. I could have also used the Dado stack, but that's out of the table. So, all right, we are ready for another dry fit. Be a little bit tricky. Just going to make sure the sides don't come out on this. I'll give them a little sand. Just like that. Things about building with MDF is it's heavy. I think I'm going to do that. Hang on a minute. Not so fast. Remember that little remember this little patch I put in? Got to take care of that first. Okay, looks like everything is supposed to fit. It is snug. We're not quite in. So what I'm going to do on the back edge of all of these pieces is just kind of give them that, all the pieces that are fitting into a dado cut. Just going to give them that little light sand again just to make it a little bit easier to fit in. So just kind of take the edge off. let's do that trick on the dado itself. All right, we'll try that again. And it looks like we have some interest in everything going together. See if a little persuasion will help. Okay, so our challenge really is the top portion here. So might need a little bit more sanding to get that where we want it. That's looking pretty good. All right, there we have the major cabinet components. So there will be a door on here. There'll be a bar that comes down here, another door, of course, 3 drawers. So that's the major cabinetry components done. Nothing will be glued together yet. Of course, I want to get all of the joints fitting better. And we're going to drill holes in the sides of these, in the sides here, to allow for 2 shelves, maybe 1 shelf. Put enough holes there for 2 shelves. Yeah, that's coming along. So some good progress today. That's some dirty, dusty stuff. But I'm pleased with that. So thanks very much everyone for watching. I do appreciate it. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video.